On the 10th of January 2022, Airfix announced their new range for the next 12 months. I'm Matt, this is Model Minutes, and join me as I take a look at their latest offerings and what I think about them. Many of you by this point now may have already seen the Airfix range, or possibly even seen the live stream that I did with Mars and a few other YouTube modelers over on his channel as it went live, so you'll have a good idea of what's going on, but I'd like to give my own personal spin and my own sort of reflection on what's going on. So before we start off, all information that I present to you in this video should be taken possibly with a pinch of salt because it's believed to be correct as of this moment in time, but as the year progresses, more information may surface which will render this a little bit invalid or possibly in need of correction. So details may change without notice. Before we start off by looking at the new releases, I just want to say that I am feeling a little bit more positive about the range this year compared to last year. Last year I was a little bit disappointed with what there was, but this year I'm feeling a little bit more positive regarding what they've actually got prepared. I mean, it's not necessarily for those of you who like certain things, it's probably not going to be the best announcement, but I'm quite pleased with what they have got going on. But obviously you can be the judge of that as well. But I was also quite impressed with how Airfix handled it this year. Last year they had a massive issue where the website actually went down and they delayed the launch by 24 hours. But this year the website has suffered a little bit. It has been a little bit laggy, but it has actually held up and we've been able to view the products that they've got going on. It seems that most of the information on there seems to be correct. And also in the premiere on Airfix's YouTube channel, they had Dale, the head of brand. He was in there answering questions, and he even popped over to our own stream on Moz's channel and had a chat with us there as well. So that was really great to see some engagement there from Airfix regarding their products. So without any further ado, let's get into it and take a look at the new releases this year. So first up, I'm going to take a look at the quick builds. I'm not a fan of quick builds. I don't really enjoy them. Obviously, they're not aimed necessarily at me. They're aimed more at children. They're sort of a bit like Lego, really. You just snap it all together and you're good to go. But we've got a quick build Jeep quicksand concept. It should be coming into the range somewhere around the springtime, so that should be sort of March or thereabouts. Quite a few number of parts there, 49 of them, so it might take you a little bit longer to build up if you're new to this sort of thing, and you're looking at paying about £17 for that, which is the same for the next product, which is another quick build, which is the Gladiator Overland. And again, this one might be a little bit easier because it's got 44 parts, but should be due around the springtime. Like I said, not a massive fan of quick build, but if you enjoy easy to assemble, snap together kits, these are a bit like Lego, then these are perfect for you. I am going to say that I do quite like the look of the artwork they've got here. It's very sort of eye-catching. So as a kid, I'd probably be really interested in having one of these. But anyway, let's move on to the more exciting stuff, and I'm sure we all know already what the big kit this year was, so I'm not going to leave it to the end of the video. I'm going to do it now, but most of us already knew because Airfix put it on their website and on their social media, and they even announced it at their Duxford press conference, as it were, that they have got a brand new Supermarine Spitfire Mark 9C in 1 to 24th scale. So this is a big Spitfire. As is typical with the 1/24th scale kits, you're going to be looking at paying around the £100 mark for it. This one comes with 4 paint schemes, and I'm quite interested in the French one down the bottom. It's got 433 parts, and it's expected in the summer of 2022. So we shouldn't have that long to wait for it. And I pulled up a couple of images here from the website, and you can see that it has got quite a lot of detail. It seems like they've listened to us, particularly those rivet counters among us who've gone, where are they? And as you can see in these images, there are some rivets, and there seems to be quite a lot of detail just on these shots alone. Of particular note, I was pretty impressed down in the wheels. On the tyres, you've actually got like the Dunlop branding, which they don't tend to put on all of their kits. More often than not, you'd be lucky to get just some tread on the tyres. But here, it looks like they have actually gone out of their way to get some more detail on there. So would I get one of these? I probably shouldn't. I mean, I've got enough Spitfires as it is. You know, I can see why Airfix are going for a Spitfire because it's the money model, isn't it? It's the kit that earns them the most money. That and P-51s, they seem to be the big spenders, as it were. So yeah, it probably makes sense as long as they've addressed the issues that the other 1/24th scale kits had, because some of them had fit issues and weren't necessarily the best in the world. But this does look to me to be quite a very nice looking kit. So I guess the proof will be in the pudding, and we'll see that when it comes into the shops. Yeah, just look at those images. That does look nice, doesn't it? Cool. So another new release, another new tool is a Buccaneer S2, which was mentioned that it's probably an up-tooled version of the 172nd one, retailing for £72.50. You're looking at about 288 parts for this, so it should be quite well detailed. And again, summer 2022. And I've got some images here. And what I quite like is that you've got all these sort of extras. You've got the ladders, you've got the blanking plates, you can fold the wings up, it comes with its armament. The detail on the inside looks quite nice, and for some reason I've double hatted that image on the right, but hey, can't have enough pictures, am I right? But yeah, the detail on this again looks to be very similar to the Spitfire we just saw. More rivets, more stuff going on. So yeah, it should be a nice looking kit. Personally, probably not likely to get one because I do have other kits in the stash that I need to get done first. However, that being said, I could be tempted by the next one, which is the Avro Anson Mark 1. I did build the 1/72nd scale version of this kit back when I was younger, and you know it would be a vintage classic kit now, but this is a new tool, should be released somewhere around the autumn of this year. It's going to be 1/48 scale, and you're looking around £47 for it. I'm sure some of you have noticed that the prices do seem to be creeping up, and I'm sure there are a variety of reasons for that due to shipping costs and possibly even tooling costs have gone up as well. So if you do have your concerns, perhaps shopping around and looking for these in cheaper places might be the way to go. I took some images off of their website here, and you can see that it has got considerably more detail than the old tooling in 1/72nd scale. And I've been informed that the turret on the back is a 3-part molding. And you can see in the image on the right, you've got all of that lovely detail inside of the engine as well. So yeah, I could be very easily tempted to get one of these as and when I've cleared out my stash. Moving on then to a smaller scale, we've got 1/72nd scale and a brand new tooled Gloucester Meteor F8. Retailing for about £24, you're looking at a model which will be out in the summer. I did mention in our stream earlier that it didn't seem like there was any options to display like an internal engine with the cowlings off or anything like that. I said it'd be nice, like on when they did the Typhoon, the Hawker Typhoon, they had the gun bays and you could open them and display them as shown. They don't seem to have done anything particularly special like that on this kit, but that being said, the detail does look quite good for a 1/72nd scale kit. But I guess it remains to be seen, and we'll have to see what it's like when it actually turns up. Some more starter sets are newly released this year. We've got the Bugatti Chiron, and it's retailing for around £15, which is what the starter sets tend to go for. It's in a slightly odd 1/43 scale. I'm not entirely sure why they've chosen that for this range of cars, but it should be to the new easy to assemble starter set type of style. Personally, I'm probably not going to get one of these as I'm not really interested in cars, which, you know, being said, brings us on to the next one, which is also another new release, a Pagani Huayra, just a H with lots of vowels after it. That's also for the same price, same information, slightly fewer parts. So if you wanted a slightly easier kit to build, maybe this is the one for you. And then a third newly tooled car is the Jaguar E-Type, which replaces the older version, which they used to have as a starter set, which, you know, is probably not a bad thing because that one was quite old. Again, in 1/43 scale, but again, comes with less parts. So this one will be even easier to do. Maybe I could be tempted to have a go at this one, but I guess we'll have to see. So we've kind of got some tanks, those armoured people, armour fans out there. You've got a Sturmpanzer IV Brummbach, retailing for around £45. It looks like, I don't know if that's a typo, but it says 546 parts there, and that's what it said on the website. So, that's a lot of parts. I have been informed that these are Academy toolings. I don't think they've been released in the Academy range. I think Airfix and Academy are working together. It's sort of like a joint venture in some ways. So there should be sort of the best of both worlds, I would hope. But yeah, if you like tanks, you've got a 135 Brumba. You've also got a Stug 4 in the same scale, and we should expect to see that somewhere around the summer. And we've also got a Panzer 3. Same scale, again, 599 parts. I'm not sure if those are typos, but that's an awful lot of parts, isn't it? That does seem quite high for a 135 scale kit, unless, obviously I don't have that much experience with 135, so if I'm way off the mark there, let me know down below. Although, that being said, I bet these are single link tracks. So that would probably explain why they've gone up in the part count. But anyway, that is it for new releases. So let's talk about re-releases. Re-releases are those kits which have been in the Airfix range before and are either back in the range because they've got new decals, or they've added extra parts, new parts, to depict a different version of the aircraft that was previously in, or the model that was previously in the range. So, coming up, we've got the Mary Rose. So this wasn't actually listed on the website, but it was in their launch video. I've built one of these. It is a good starter set if you like ships. It's not too hard to build. Even though it was tooled in 2014, it's not that much different sort of skill level wise from these new tooled beginner sets that they've done recently. But I couldn't find out when it was due to come into stock. So keep your ear to the ground if you're interested in having one of those. Another starter set this year is the Vampire T11. I don't think this was in the video, but it was on their website. So I think they might have missed that one. Retailing for nearly £20. It does seem like it's gone up a little bit, but again, like I said, prices do seem to be creeping up across the board at the moment. 55 parts. If you're looking for a slightly harder kit, this might be the one to do if you're just starting out, but it has got an all silver paint scheme, and I have built one of these and it was quite good to do. You should expect to see this by the end of the year. We've got the Bristol Blenheim Mark 4F coming up, and that is due in spring of this year. As far as I'm aware, this is a rebox of the original version, which first launched back in 2014. No real big changes there. After that, we've got the Heinkel HE111P2. Again, 1/72nd scale, and the tooling dates from 2015, so not that older tooling. And I'm pretty sure this is a re-release of that sort of original tooling. You can see there that it's got the Blackburn, is it a rock, shooting him down over Norway. Moving on, we've got another German bomber, a Dornier 17. There are apparently new parts for this kit to represent the version shown here. So that updates the tooling of 2014 to be a little bit more recent, to have some more extra stuff, and we should see that in the summer of 2022, and retailing for about £30. Another kit is the C47 Skytrain. I've actually got one of these in the stash. It looks all right. My version comes with the Willis Jeep and RAF transfers. £40 seems sort of about right for that. This seems to be the 2014 sort of re-release that they did for the D-Day memorials, and it looks like it's got 2 decal schemes included in the box. Another re-release is the Victor, which again has 2 decal schemes. You can see on the bottom of the artwork there. A fairly recently tooled kit, and we should see that in the autumn. Be prepared to hand over nearly £75 for this one though. So what I've done now is I've actually grouped some of the kits together into a certain theme, and I'm sure you'll notice that as we go through. So up next is the Spitfire F22, which is in 1/72nd scale and is due in the summer. Nearly 50 parts, retailing for about £12. And I'm pretty sure that this hasn't been seen for a while in 1/72nd scale. The last release was a few years ago. The next one is another Spitfire. So this is a Mark, what's that, 12? And this is due in the spring, so not long to wait, 98 parts. It was tooled in 2011, and I don't think this has been seen that much either. This one, however, is in 1/48 scale, which is why the price is a little bit higher. Another 1/48 scale Spitfire is the Mark, what's that, 18? XVI, Mark 18, yeah. Retailing for the same price as the previous kit, it has got a slightly different number of parts. I'm pretty sure this is a derivative of the Mark 14 that I built a few years back. And again, we should see that in the next couple of months. Because Airfix doesn't like doing Spitfires without something for our American cousins across the pond, here is a P51. So this is the 1/72 scale tooling, which started out in 2012. Retailing for about £12. We've got 2 new decal schemes in this box. And I wouldn't be surprised if it came with some rockets as well, because the F51 original tooling did. Moving on to 1/48 scale, we've got another P51. Again, 2 different paint schemes. And we should see that one in the spring as well. This one isn't as old, seeing as it was originally tooled back in 2017. Moving on, another American aircraft, we've got the F4F Wildcat. Not a bad kit. Some people do have their issues with the landing gear design, because you have to assemble it before you do the rest of the aircraft, which means you're going to paint the underside. You've got to paint the whole thing without some very tricky masking. But generally, it's not a bad kit from my experience. And from my recollection, it does come with the option to fold the wings, which is nice to see in such a small scale. Moving on, we've got the Fairy Swordfish Mark 1, which is a re-release of the 2012 tooling. Supposedly, according to the website, we're due to see this one in the winter of 2021-2022, which is now. So we should see that one, if that's correct, pretty soon. So if you like your swordfish, there's one for you, and it's got 2 different decal schemes. Up next, we've got a Harrier, a GR7A or a GR9, depending on the variant that you build out of the box, and there's 2 decal schemes included. Originally tooled in 2011. This one is in 1/72 scale, and it's due in the summer. To go with this, if you really want another one, you can get a Sea Harrier. This time it's the FRS1, and it's due now, supposedly, if that information is believed to be correct. Another jet fighter that's going to come into the range is the Lightning F2A, which is the 2013 tooling. This one will be seen somewhere around the end of the year, and it comes with 2 decal schemes. Retailing for £24, it's around the same sort of price as the previous offerings. Another jet, we've got the North American F-86 Sabre, which is based off of the Canadair Sabre that was announced and released last year. So this is pretty much one of the most recent toolings as well, being only tooled in 2020-2021. 1/48 scale, 148 parts, retailing for about £40. That one should be in the shops in the next couple of months. And then the almost last one on this list is the Western Lynx, which is retailing for about £50, which seems quite steep because I actually have a slightly older version of this kit in my stash, which cost me £2, but then I did get it in a recycling centre. It does look to be quite a good kit from what I've seen inside my box, and this version has the option to display it in one of 3. So you've got 3 different decal schemes, and it looks like it's 3 slightly different variants. Comes with quite a lot of parts, and we should see that in the summer. So I probably won't be interested in getting one of these, seeing as I've got one in the stash. Moving on now, we've got the Vintage Classics range. So this is the range of kits which are too old to be in their normal range, and actually I agree with Airfix in the way that they do this. Yes, a lot of people don't want to buy old kits. They want to buy new kits that are fresh and they've got lots of detail and they fit together well. But some people do enjoy the older ones. The issue I have is when model companies display or retail their models that are ancient 1950s vintage in modern boxes alongside the new toolings as well. So you pick them up and you think to yourself, this is a good deal, and it turns out that you've actually taken home a very crude lump of plastic. So if a model company out there wants to continue doing that, I will judge their releases based on when I buy them, not on whether you tell me how old the tooling is. Because if you don't tell me how old it is, I'm going to assume it's fairly recent. Cool. So up next, we've got the HMS Devonshire, which is a 1 to 600 scale ship for those of you who enjoy that kind of thing. Retailing for about £16, it doesn't seem too bad, and you should see that in the summer. I'm probably not going to get one of these ships, but I might be tempted to get this one. Not that I should. I shouldn't get any because I've got far too many in the stash as it is, but the reason why I might get this one is because apparently it includes a landing craft, which would be quite nice. You could do like a little diorama with it or something. This is the HMS Fearless, originally tooled in 1968, and it's got 121 parts, and we should see that sometime around the summer. So if you like sort of landing craft, helicopter ships, this is the one for you. For those who love armour, we've got the Joseph Stalin JS3 tank, which is a 1962 tooling model kit, and it's not going to be that expensive. It's going to be around the £7 mark. It's to that slightly odd 176 scale that Airfix did back in the day because they wanted everything to mix and match with their 00 gauge trains, which they no longer do, which is ironic because then Hornby, that does do 00 gauge trains, bought them, so they kind of actually do still do them. But yeah, anyway, this is due now according to the information that I've got. So if you like a Soviet era tank, there's one for you. And to go with that, if you really wanted to make a little diorama, you could get some World War II Russian infantry. And I quite like what Airfix have done here. They've matched up like a tank with some figures, which is quite good. Not too expensive, £6 there. Tooling from 1964, again to that slightly odd 176 scale rather than 172nd. 48 parts in there, but the only issue I have with the Airfix figures, although they do tend to be quite nicely molded, is they come in that really weird flexible sort of rubbery plastic, and I'm not a big fan of that. So perhaps in the future Airfix will start molding them in something a little bit better. Following on with this theme, we've got another vintage classic tank, which is a Japanese Chiha, and it's going to be retailing for the same price as the Joseph Stalin we saw earlier. Tooled in 1974, 68 parts, and it should be due any time now, supposedly. Again, to that slightly odd and old 176 scale. And to go with that, just as before, you can have some figures, the World War II Japanese infantry. Tooled in 1974, there's 48 parts in here again, but this is due a bit later in the year. Supposedly we're not going to see this until the summer. I guess they must have some sort of delivery issues. But yeah, I might be tempted to get this to do some sort of diorama, but I'm not sure that at the moment I have the time to do so. However, the next kit I did always want as a kid, not really sure why, probably because I never had any Italian aircraft in my stash, but it was the Fiat G50. Retailing for around £7, it doesn't seem too bad, and the tooling dates from 1967, so it is a little bit old and it's probably going to be a little bit crude. It's only got 33 parts, but it should be an interesting build nonetheless, especially for someone like me. And we should see that in the next couple of months. Another kit that I always thought was interesting was the Commonwealth Boomerang, and this is going to be a little bit more expensive, but it does come with those Royal Australian Air Force decals. So for those of you who are from down under and are struggling to find a suitable kit, this might be the one for you. Again, 1965, so it's quite an old kit and only 31 parts, so I'm not expecting the detail to be amazing, but we should see that one closer towards the end of the year. Another vintage aircraft, which apparently also comes with floats. So if you want to make a slightly navalized seaplane version, this is the one to go for. Retailing for about £15, this 1971 tooled kit features 94 parts. I could be tempted to get one of these, but I'm not sure that I should at the moment. Expected in the autumn of 2022, we have got a little bit of a wait to get this one. Another vintage classic aircraft is the Beagle Bassett, which is retailing for a ever so slightly cheaper price at £10.99. This kit dates from 1968 and was a 172 scale model with 47 parts. This one will be available a little bit sooner, supposedly, in the spring of this year. The next aircraft, though, I did actually have this kit as a child, but I never ended up building it, and I'm not entirely sure what happened to it. I think I might have lost the decals and then never built it as a result. But I would actually be tempted to get this one again to see what it would have been like if I actually had built it. This is the F80C Shooting Star. It's retailing for around the £11 mark and was tooled in 1973. It's got 52 parts, and from my memory, I don't remember it looking too bad. I thought it looked sort of okay. But then this is with my childhood eyes, going back at least 20 years now. So it could have been absolutely atrocious and I would never have known. This is due towards the end of the year. Another aircraft, for those of you who like helicopters, is this one, the Westland Whirlwind, and I've been told that it's not necessarily the best kit that was ever made, and seeing as it dates from 1956, I could find that quite easy to believe. Retailing for about £11 as well, featuring 55 parts and coming in the autumn. Finally, we've got one more kit to look at, and we started big, so let's end big, and this is the Hawker Siddeley Harrier GR1, again in 1/24 scale. This is just under the £100 mark and was tooled in 1974. It comes with nearly 300 parts, and we should see this one in the summer. If you like building big jets, this is the one for you. Personally though, I'm probably not going to get one, especially if people are going to encourage me to get that 1/24 scale Spitfire. And that is it. So with that said and everything looked at, let's just recap what there was in total. So we had 2 quick build cars, 4 aircraft, 3 other cars and 3 tanks, which were new tool kits this year. We've got 1 ship as a re-release and 18 aircraft. So as per usual, Airfix has gone quite heavy on the aircraft. In the vintage lineup, we've got 2 ships, 7 aircraft, 2 tanks and 2 figures. Last year, they were quite heavy on the vintage figures sort of range and didn't really cover off a variety of subjects. All in all, we've got 43 new kits entering the range this year. And like I said at the beginning, I'm not feeling too terrible about this. It does feel like a bit more varied than it was last year. I guess that with everything that's going on in the world, they can't necessarily build or design or release every single kit that everybody wants. So yeah, I don't think they're doing too badly. Obviously, there's a few things they could do to improve, but I'm not as disappointed as I was last year. So let me know down in the comments, what will you get and what did you think of the range this year? Do you agree with me and it's a bit better than last year and there are some interesting models there? Or do you think that I'm way off the mark and this is possibly the worst year Airfix have ever released models? Before I sign off, honourable mention to my patrons and channel members over on Patreon and here on YouTube for the extra support they give the channel. Thanks to these guys for allowing me to create consistent content for you all to enjoy. And before I sign off, I do want to just give a quick thanks on my Ko-fi, which I completely forget about. People have been donating, and I actually managed to reach a milestone, which was to get the older Airfix 1/24 scale Hellcat. So now I need to go and find one and buy it and build it. New patrons, I've had quite a few new patrons appear over the sort of Christmas break, and your shout outs are coming. I'm probably going to put them in a build video, so bear with me with that one. New channel members, exactly the same. I've had more people pop up on my channel memberships, and massive thank you to you. And finally, I think it was like yesterday, I hit that 25,000 subscriber mark. So a massive thank you to everyone who's been involved in the channel, either watching, subscribing, liking, commenting. You guys have built this community, and I'm so grateful that you are all here. If you'd like to see more and you want to become part of this community, make sure you click that like button and don't forget to subscribe so that you get those notifications whenever I put a new modelling video out there. Take a look in the description. I'll be popping a link to my social accounts down there and also a link to the stream which I was featured in over on Moz's channel. So go and check that one out for some real-time reactions to what actually went down on launch day. Finally, all that's left to say is once again a massive thank you to you for watching and the support I've had over the last couple of years, and I will see you on the workbench again next time.